Hello chums, welcome back, hope you're all doing well. We're looking at some ranked rewards, they have finally arrived. We've got the Kampfpanzer 50t, which everybody and their dog is probably going to be playing right now. But I figured I'd do a little kind of mini review, I guess you can call it. Have a look at the tank, do a little comparison with the T55A, the other tier 9 reward, apart from things like the phase 1, but T55A is, again, German like this one, technically, I guess. So we'll do a little comparison and maybe we'll show off some live gameplay. I'd quite like to do something live because I think it's good to show live stuff rather than to cherry pick all your good games, right? So I've got a comparison set up here with the T55A. We'll also have a look at the armour models on Tanks GG because I think that's important, because the armour values here don't tell you too much unless you actually look at the angling and the way it works out on the tank. So we just need to change a quick configuration thing here and set that back to AP and APCR. So the way I've got these configured is 100% crew with these perks. They both have the same equipment, which is vents, V-stabs and rammer. On a tier 9 medium, when you're starting to get this kind of view range, I really don't think it's worth taking optics over vents. So I would personally run these with vents and standard kind of equipment loadout or consumable loadout of large repair kit, large first aid and food, just to basically, run these with basically a decent crew and a sensible kind of maxed out loadout, if you like, maximum performance. And they're both set up exactly the same way. So we've got concealment, brothers in arms, recon, situational awareness. This is the kind of crew that I would expect most people to have on a tier 9 medium, really, by the time they get here. So, without further ado, let's actually compare them. Firepower wise, they both have 320 alpha. But the 50t has quite a significant pen advantage of 268 against 221. So standard pen, that's a big jump. And to be honest, at tier 9, the T55A does lack a bit of pen. Coming up against tier 10s, you are going to struggle, I think, to pen some tanks. But it's worth noting, when you dab the 2 key, as they say, you do make up for that with 330 heat pen. 310's not bad, but against some of the super heavies, you're probably going to struggle a little bit in the 50t. So it's worth bearing in mind. You've got the advantage, quite a significant advantage in standard pen, a little bit of a disadvantage when it comes to premium pen or special ammo pen, whatever you want to call it. Rate of fire, very similar, but T55A has a slight advantage here. So it's about half a second quicker reload, which brings it to, when you look at the actual DPM, 3,152 against 2,890, basically. So you're looking at like 260 to, is that about? Yeah, it's about 260, 260 DPM between them, so not very much. Dispersion is exactly the same, 0.29. They're both pretty accurate and they both have exactly the same aiming time. Very, very similar. One big thing though, which I think to a lot of people, myself especially, I love having under pressure in tanks, and having 8 degrees is a big difference to 5. I think 8 is a really nice sweet spot. Once you get to 8 and above, I find that a tank feels really flexible and good on a ridgeline. 7 is just about okay in something like a T44, but 6 and below, I find it starts getting awkward. So that, I'm sure, is going to be really nice to have. And that's about it, really. Gun traverse speed, that's probably also worth noting quickly, is quite a bit slower on the 50t. It's not as agile, it's not going to turn that turret around quite as quick as the 55A will. Armour, like I say, we're going to look at separately, but it's worth noting it's pretty similar, although the 50t has got a little bit more in terms of raw thickness, apart from on the sides. Sides are pretty damn thin compared to the rest of the tank. But again, we'll look at that separately, because it doesn't really tell us anything without looking at the model. Weight and load limit, again quite similar. The 50t is heavier, but it has a more powerful engine, which leaves it with a slightly lower specific power or power to weight. But worth noting here, top speed is 10 kilometers an hour faster, takes it up to 60 kilometers an hour, which it probably will get up to. We'll find out, but I would expect it's going to get very close to that on the flat, which is quite an advantage, I would say. That's a fast medium once it gets there. It's going to take a little while longer to get there, but it will get there. Traverse speed, like the turret, it's not quite as agile, so it's going to take a little bit longer to turn. but hopefully with the kind of playstyle with this tank, that won't hurt it too much. And finally, worth noting here, which was a little bit of a surprise to me, but when you look at the model, it is actually quite low profile. Camo is quite, well, it's not quite, but it's better on the 50t. So 3% or 2.5% higher when stationary. So yeah, it's going to be a bit sneakier. And like I say, looking at the model, it is quite low profile, really, when you think about it. So, yeah, okay, so without much further ado, let's jump over to Tanks GG and have a quick look at the armour models. Alright, welcome back. So, this is all about the same. I think I've got them kitted out the same, but it doesn't really matter. One thing that is worth looking at here, which obviously you can't see in the garage, why Wargaming, why do you still hide this from us, is gun handling. T55A is a bit better when it comes to gun handling, which is not a huge surprise. It's Russian at heart, and we all know that Russians have amazing gun handling. So it is going to bloom a little bit more. The 50t gun is going to bloom a little bit more when you are swinging your tank around, but not the end of the world. A little bit more view range for the 50t, but that might just be the way I've got them configured in here. Oh, and the one other thing that is worth mentioning while we're here, which again not shown, is shell velocity. 1070 for the 55A, and that's with AP, and it will drop even more with heat to 895. 1478 meters per second in the 50T. That's very good shell velocity. That's like tier 10 medium levels, and with the APCR it's not a huge surprise. So sniping in this thing is going to be pretty reliable with the accuracy, the pen, and the shell velocity. It's going to be a nice sniping med. But let's have a look at the armor models, because this is where I think it's worth talking about. This thing's got some armor. It's not impenetrable, but it's got a damn good turret with not a particularly easy to see cupola, especially if it's using its gun depression. And also, this was a bit surprising to me until I saw this model. I didn't expect this, but it does have a bit of a pike nose, a bit like a Russian heavy would. So you can see that when this thing's using its gun depression, you've got basically no shot on its cupola. There's a bit of a weak spot here, according to this model anyway, but also it makes the upper hull pretty much an auto bounce everywhere, because it's well over that. I think it's 70 degrees when it comes auto bounce. Yeah, original angle 70 degrees. So yeah, it's not going to be very easy to pen hold down this thing. If you're YOLOing premium rounds into here, maybe, I mean 310 heat, you can see it starts getting a bit easier, but you're going to have to hit around the gun there, and without 300 plus, you're going to be bouncing most of the time. So it's got some good turret armor. Hull armor as well is not to be sniffed at, even when it's not an auto bounce. That hull armor from kind of flat on is nearly 300mm effective. This is an auto bounce. Lower plate, as expected, is pretty naff. Side scraping, probably not. This is still not the easiest pen without, you know, decent pen values, but this is the problem with side scraping. People will learn this and they will pen you there pretty easily, I would say. But, you know, it's probably better than trying to poke a corner like this, because then you're just exposing your track wheels. But to be fair, yeah, you're going to have to expose an awful lot if you come around like that. Just trying to think about how you could poke around a corner. Problem with this hull is it's so long and kind of, which you get a nice advantage with the angling, but it makes it extend quite far out, and you're going to be exposing your track wheels. So yeah, it's going to be ideal on a ridge, I think. But yeah, just quickly before we go into a game, so you're looking at about sort of 300 effective most of the turret, and it gets even higher at some points. But if I just can go back quickly to the comparison, do I have that? Nope. Let's just find the T55A again. If we go and look at this guy and his model, similar. Bear in mind this is using its own gun to shoot at it, so you've got considerably lower pen. So 330 is a bit of an exaggeration, but you can see if we're just looking at the raw values and ignoring the colours here, 300 effective, 250 around the front. Similar turrets, I would say, but look at this great big overmatchable roof and this great big cupola. I would say the 50t has got a better turret, quite considerably actually, given this roof and the cupola and these kind of weak spots. I've penned a T55A in the turret quite regularly. So and also side scraping, you've got a similar kind of weak spot, but again, upper hull, this is much weaker than the 50t. So 50t is definitely better armoured. So yeah, we'll see how it works out. We'll go and play some live games. Hopefully I'll get a nice one, and then maybe I'll try and throw in like a nice replay at the end as well. Okay, without much further ado, you can see down here 0 games played. Let's go play the first game. Got the right crew in, everything's looking good. Got a pretty decent crew here. It's full girls and the King Baboon as the commander, so it's a pretty decent crew. I would have preferred a different map, to be honest. I'm quite surprised to see the matchmaking's not full of them, and at least it's Assault. This Assault is much better on this map than Standard Battle, I think. So, okay, we're top tier, which is nice. Tier 8 and 1 RT, so okay. When I spawn this side, I like to usually try and play around this area and maybe use like the hold down over this ridge to shoot at anybody who's playing aggressively there. And yeah, we'll see what happens. 6 heavies on each team, 1 RT, 1 light. Okay. See how we get on. I'm going to turn the game sound up a little bit because I'm not used to playing without music on a stream. I usually have music on, so it's quite a smart looking little tank, I think. Let's just keep our gun fairly active for any very aggressive light tanks, because they do like to skirt that ridge. Yeah, you can see it's pretty mobile, this thing. Once it's got up to speed, it doesn't mess around. See how aggressive this Pantera wants to be. See if I get spotted there. Not spotted. Bulldog is pretty late to the party, and let's see if there's any heavies here. Yeah, doesn't look like it. Alright. There's a heavy there. Okay. Ammo racked on the first shot. Interesting. I wonder if this has got a weak ammo rack. I have seen some gameplay of this tank, but not an awful lot, to be honest. So I'm kind of learning it as I go here. Is this pattern going to be over aggressive? Yeah, but I don't quite have the gun depression. But we have the gun handling and accuracy to snap one into him then. Okay, nice. Alright, not the greatest start. I would have preferred not to take that shot from the IS-3, but it was a little bit of a strange position for him to sit in. I'm just going to make sure I stay held down as I crest this ridge here. I'm not getting spotted, which is interesting. I would have expected to be spotted there. It means that any TDs are playing quite passively at the back, and there's no light out in the field and waiting around. And there's the Borsig. I just spotted him, I think. Did he spot me? No. Well, the gun definitely works in this tank. That we can say, for sure. And that's quite interesting. So you probably noticed then, I didn't get spotted until I fired, and we could tell that from the delay from the 6th sense. Now what that means is that it was my camo that was keeping me from being unspotted there. It wasn't some kind of line of sight thing, but it was actually the camo. So okay, so I just outspotted that Pantera. There's nobody else cresting this ridge that would spot him, and he can't spot me. And now the Pantera doesn't have bad view range, so that's quite interesting to know. I think the camo on this thing definitely works. There is a bit of a problem here, which is that my team's melting quite badly. 0 to 4, and the enemy team is playing very aggressive in the sea. So this is going to have to be quite a big game, I think, to get anywhere from it. See, I didn't get spotted then. This thing definitely has some camo. It's a shame our Oho is playing so passively over in the corner, but at least he is holding this side. It's the one thing I can say for what he's doing, because it's quite easy, I find, for the enemy team to push out here. And when they do, they usually can cause a lot of trouble for people playing in my kind of position. We can see somebody's going to make some pressure eventually, but this is going to be a hell of a carry if we get anything out of this game. I think it's very unlikely, unfortunately. See what this 704 wants to do. He's actually driving the other way. Now, a lot of people might think I'm playing a bit scared here. I'm sitting at the back, I'm farming damage and yada yada yada. There is no point in me getting any more aggressive here. With this few tanks, being aggressive is just a death sentence. I might as well just try and sit back and punish the enemies when they want to make some aggression. Somehow that doesn't track him. That was fairly well aimed, I think, but it's kind of unfortunate. But this is where we can test the thing with DPM. It'd be really great if we could kill this 704. Yeah, I didn't have a shot on his track, but he's dead. Okay, T10 is going to YOLO. It's a bit unfortunate. He's a stock T10. You can tell that from his turret. This is quite a good situation for us right now, with them just driving out in front of us on this ridge. We need to kill that guy because he would be a problem. So we'll see how much we can do here. Okay, 5120. So this thing does have some armour, that's for sure. Yeah, it does have some armour. That is definitely for sure. 5120, is he empty or is he determined to get round me? Yeah, he wants to get round me because he keeps bouncing me from the front. Trying to angle a little bit. I'm sure he pens me now. He looks a little bit confused about where to shoot me. I think he was empty then, so it was a little bit unfortunate. I couldn't get further back, but 3.9k damage is not a bad start in a tier 9. Unfortunately, my team just kind of melted there, so it's a loss, but it's a nice tank, I think. The gun is reliable, and to be honest, for me, that's kind of the number one thing to have in a tank. If you can rely on the gun to hit your shots, you can play with the tank. The most frustrating thing in World of Tanks for me is when RNG screws you over and you miss something which you feel like you should pen. I was kind of hoping I could watch the Scorpion, please, game. So, yeah. But, you know, it's got a reliable gun, it's got a good pen, and it's got some armour to boot as well. You can probably put some of the bounces down to it being a brand new tank and people not knowing too much about it. But as we saw, I think it's the way the hull is shaped, probably. It's quite a nasty lower plate to hit, and the upper plate is quite problematic. Wow, this guy really farmed. Fair play. But unfortunately, we were the only two members of our team that managed over 1,000 damage. Oh well, it happens, I guess. And the enemy team played pretty well. T54 had a good game. Alright, let's try one more. We've got a bit of a feel for it. And see if we can maybe get a win and break even on the win ratio at 50%. That'd be nice. And we get another amazing map. No arty though. So that actually might make this a playable game, because I think the main problem with Overlord is arty. 2 or 3 arty on this map really does not bode well for a good game. So there's 5 tier 9s. They've got an E50, a Leopard, lots of German tanks in this game, Jagdtiger. No heavies. No tier 9 heavies is worth knowing. But 703, a couple of IS3s. They're kind of nasty heavies. At the beginning of this game, I'm going to go and play around here, because I know I can use my gun depression a bit, and without having arty in the game to worry about, I'm not too worried about getting punished too hard for playing there, hopefully. Maybe I'll eat my words there, but we'll see. Hopefully we don't have too many beach warriors. The Carnarvon's going to go. I'll let him off for that. He's not a bad tank to go. Well, the gun's going to play a little bit of games with us here by the look of it. Now, judging from the position, yeah, IS3, he was straight on to me there. It's a bit unfortunate. I think I'm not quite held down here, but I'm almost held down. Okay. I said good things about the gun, and it's decided that it's going to show me its dark side, I guess. Yeah, it really is. But at least we're bouncing some shots. We can definitely bounce this thing. There we go. So the super pushing is slightly angled to me, and although that thing can side scrape, just about, it's got very weak side armor. And for this much penetration, it's not a problem to go through. So we've actually got this IS-3 in a good position for us, because he can't really advance here, and yeah, he's finally going to back out there. This guy seems to have turned away from me, I'm not really sure. But we can see that this thing's turret armor definitely works. I think that can be said for sure here. It's a bit unfortunate to bounce. I'm not going to load heat for the super Pershing because he's got a lot of spaced armor, which will just mess up heat entirely. And the IS-3 has even resorted to HE. Blimey. Yeah. Gun does work when you ask it nicely. It does work, that's for sure. I'm going to load some heat now because I don't want to keep getting HE by this guy. I'd like to take this IS-3 out. It's kind of a low percentage shot just because there's so little of him exposed. We might pen that guy with heat. His turret is one of the better places to hit as long as you don't hit it right in the spaced armor. I mean, I'm taking damage here, but I'm not bleeding too much, and I need to try and use my DPM. Okay, he's gone back to regular. Maybe he's run out of HE. And now he's a one-shot. I'm kind of confident with being a little bit more aggressive here and trying to over-peak and find shots on those guys. Another IS-3, being troublesome over there. I didn't even realise his Malbreaker was there, so I need to be a little bit careful there. And this Jagdtiger is getting a little bit excitable. I think we do need to try and deal with this Malbreaker, which shouldn't be too much of a problem. But what concerns me is that we're getting squeezed. Jagdtiger is good DPM, but I'd love to kill him because he's a problem. That's a big kill for us. Let's see if we can find a peek on this Malbreaker. So you guys might be able to see what I'm talking about when I say I really like hull down, like, you know, good gun depression in tanks. Tanks with turret armor and a bit of gun depression I really enjoy just working it over the ridges. That's a problem. We're trapped between two places we really don't want to be there. Can you leave me alone, please, Malbreaker? Please leave me alone. Trying to angle. Yeah, he bounces. That's good. It'd be really nice if this AMX did a little bit more against him. I need to go up here. Just try and stay out of his line of fire. Hopefully we can kill this E50. Again, my team is unfortunately not doing too well here. Trying to keep an eye on what that Malbreaker is doing behind me. His LT wants to play as well. Well, thank you, 430. I'm guessing that was you, yeah? Yeah, there's a bit of a bad peak to reverse like that, but I'm in such a horrible spot there with Pantera, IS-3, Malbreaker behind me. Unfortunately, the teams have really not been with me for these two games, but I think we can see the strengths of this vehicle. It's definitely got some armor, and the gun definitely works. It's a good tank. It's a nice tank. I think I'm going to enjoy playing with this one a lot. So hopefully this has been a nice little showcase of the new rank reward. Can I speak today? I guess not. And it might give you some insight into what the tank is like, what to expect from it. If you're playing with one, even, you know, on your team or against one, you can see it's got some reliable turret armor. But let's just have a really quick look. So we got some APCR bounces, APCR from, but you know, no sort of high tier APCR or premium rounds that I've really been bouncing. I mean, the E50's using the small gun, so we haven't really tested it against super high pen yet, but you can see it will certainly bounce if you're staying hull down. So yeah, hopefully it's been useful. Hopefully it's been entertaining to watch. I will call this video there, and hopefully see you again soon, guys. If you like the video, drop me a like, think about subscribing, you know, all the usual boring stuff to do on YouTube. Helps me out a lot, and take it easy.